Hi, everyone. It's so great to see you. My name is Anna. I'm a designer advocate at Figma, and I'm excited to talk some more about the latest variable updates that were just announced in our keynote. Before diving into talking about some of the new features, I just want to give a quick recap on what has been the state of variables up until this point. So, for context, variables are essentially design tokens in Figma. They allow you to save reusable definitions, and the four formats that we have right now are color, number, string, and boolean. You can apply your variables to a lot of your different design properties within Figma, such as for spacing for your auto layout, layer visibility, fills, effects, and so many more things. And with variables, it allows you to essentially create much more standardization and consistency across your designs. In addition, you have the ability to create different modes as a way to create different definitions for your variables for different contexts. So modes have essentially unlocked the ability for you to, for instance, create a design in multiple different contexts if it's for light, dark, and other contrast modes. If you wanted to also create different layouts, such as for various densities. And then also it allows you to create localized designs, being able to translate your design text and strings into different languages. So that's kind of been the state of variables up until this point. But now with the launch of gradients and typography, we've definitely unlocked a bunch of more new capabilities there. So I want to first talk a bit about gradients. As Shayna mentioned in the keynote, gradients allow you to essentially bind variables to each stop inside of a gradient, and you can also save those as styles. So I'm going to dive into a quick demo so we can take a look at how that works. Let's go here. So I want to finish creating this gradient that I've already started working on. To create your gradients, you can see you can set up multiple different stop points, and I already have a couple of variables applied, but I'd like to add a couple more. To bind a variable to a particular point within your gradient, click on the little square of the color, and then within libraries, you can either directly search for the particular variable you're looking for, or just find it within the list here. So I'm going to go ahead and apply my last one. And I can even move and adjust the positioning of my gradient as well. So let's push this a bit towards the bottom. In addition, you can also choose to do a mix of applying variables to your gradient or just raw hex values if you choose. It doesn't really make a huge difference. And there's also, of course, different orientations for your gradient if you want it to be linear, radial, angular, etc. Looking at the color variables I have set up in my file, you can see I've got these different hex values for the different points within my gradient, but I've also created different modes. So I have different themes for time of day, morning, afternoon, and evening, and you can see that depending on the time of day, the specific color that I'm using for each stop point in the gradient is going to change. So to see how that works within my gradient, let's go select that layer, and then I can change the mode. And you can see that the entire gradient is updating because each point of it is going to switch to the corresponding definition of that mode. To create a style from your gradient, it's the same exact flow as before. Just click on that little 4-dot icon, click the plus button, and create your gradient. So I'll just give that a name, and you can create that. And so again, because I created my different modes, I essentially only had to create one style for this gradient. So whenever I apply it to any of my designs, it will be able to also update the gradient to have the corresponding mode of the design that I'm in. So yeah, that's a quick lowdown on gradients. Moving on, let's go ahead and talk about typography variables. So we haven't introduced any new variable types. Essentially for typography, you will be using existing number and string variables and essentially bind those to your various typographic properties. So all the ones that are listed on the slide, you can apply variables to those. One thing I do want to call out is that for font weight and style, you can either use a string or a number variable for those. The process of creating your variables is also going to be exactly the same. So yeah, just create your different string and number variables, and then I'll show you in a bit how you can bind those to your various typographic properties. One other thing I want to note is that modes are also incredibly useful in the context of typography. So if you're designing, for instance, for different platforms, iOS, Android, and web, especially if you're using their default typefaces, those are going to be different across each platform. So you could think about using modes that way. Also, if you're designing for different brands, if brands are using different fonts as well, and with that, they're probably going to have different configurations around font size, line height, paragraph spacing, all those kinds of things. Modes are really valuable for that. And of course, if you're also designing for different breakpoints, so if you're creating a website and you want to make sure that everything looks great, whether it's on mobile, tablet, or desktop, modes are also a really great way to do that. And while you will be using your variables to standardize your typography, for most product designers, they're going to be primarily just using variables via typography styles. So long before Figma had variables, we had color and typography styles. But now that we've introduced color and typography variables, styles are still very much useful. So as we mentioned before, variables, you essentially have these key definitions that you can save and reuse across all of your different designs. And that's really to ensure consistency. But as you can see with typography, when you're setting a single value for your font size or for your line height, the way in which you're going to be able to group those for all of these different values to create your display or your heading or your body text is going to be with typography styles. So styles are essentially going to be a way in which you can group all of these individual values together. And people often refer to that as a composite variable. So for most product designers, you'll generally just continue to use your typography styles, which will be bound to your variables as probably set up by your design systems teams. So with that said, let's go back into another demo so we can show some more realistic examples here. All right, so first I just want to quickly show how you can bind your typography variables to some text here. So I'll go ahead and just create a text layer. We'll just say this will be display. To apply your variable for the typeface, just select that section, the properties panel, click on that variables icon, and then let's search for that here. So font family display. For any of the properties where they have a drop down, such as for your weight and font size, apply variable will be at the bottom of that. So make sure if you need to scroll down, and we'll do the weight. Let's quickly apply the font size. And then let's go ahead and also do the line height as well. All right, so I've applied my different variables essentially just by clicking on each of those individual typographic properties and then binding them to the corresponding variable that I want to use. I already set up my two different frames here so that I've got my modes already applied. And you can see when I click and drag to desktop, my text has already updated to have the corresponding variable values that we're going to have for all those different properties for desktop, and then going back into mobile. So that's how you can create them. But something I want to talk about as well is what are some best practices when it comes to creating your variables. You've probably recalled, if you've watched any prior best practice videos or demos in the past when we initially launched variables, how we have collections as a way to organize your variables. So looking at the variables I have set up here, Collections are going to be a really great way that you can separate between different types of variables. So here I've got color and typography variables living within the same library file. So I'm going to use collections as a way to split those up. If you also have different values for like your different densities, or if you have variables that you're using for specific strings to display, like maybe if you're doing translations, using collections to split those up is really going to just help with creating more organization. Within your collections as well, you can create groups. So in the context of color, I'm essentially grouping all of my different colors into their own group because I've got this whole color scale. And you can do the same thing with typography as well. So for the different applications of my variables, if it is being applied to the size, line height, weight, I just turned all of those into their own separate groups. Another thing that you probably noticed is I've got 2 collections for color and 2 for typography. So I have the collections for color and typography. Each one has their own primitive layer. So if you're using like a color scale, or if you're using a typography scale, you'll probably be saving those as your primitive value. So essentially just having the raw value for that in the primitive layer, and then essentially aliasing those in the semantic layer, which is going to be the more practical application. So in the context of color, it's saying that, okay, we're going to use this particular shade of lime green for the primary text, or for typography, for instance, we're going to say we're going to use this font size for the display font size. A lot of organizations will split up between the primitive and semantic, but also if your organization is rather small, it might not be necessary. It's just something that's worth considering. I think creating primitives and using aliasing is going to be really valuable just for if you want to be able to manage things at scale. So for instance, I've got my primitives for typography, and in there I've got my 2 different fonts I'm using for my global serif and my global sans. And if we look at these screens I have where I've applied my different typography variables, if I update my global sans to something like Roboto, this is being referenced by all of the semantic typography variables for each type of text. So if it's display, header, body, etc. If I update that, you're going to see all these corresponding designs are going to update as well, because the primitive is feeding into the semantic, which then is feeding into all of the various designs that are using my typography variables. So that's just something I wanted to point out. And yeah, so at a high level, using collections to separate between your different kinds of variables, using groups as a way to add additional level of organization, and you can also choose to split things up into primitive and semantic levels as well, and utilizing aliasing as a way to connect those two. I also just want to show this example here, just demonstrating here's all the different typography styles I have set up. It's the same exact styles that are using the same exact variables, except with the different modes that I have set up for desktop and mobile. It is dynamically applying the corresponding variable for that particular mode. So I only really needed to create a type style for each of these different applications. And then for mobile and desktop, those actually can just be combined using those same styles, and then they'll just choose what to reference based on my modes. And just another thing that's really helpful too is if you are, like, for instance, trying to make sure that you are creating your designs in a way that is suitable for different breakpoints, you can choose to just work in the context of one of them. So if I wanted to add another section here, maybe this one will just be one paragraph. I can go ahead and just copy and paste that into the desktop view. Oh, looks like I didn't have auto layout set up. But you can see though that the size of the subtitles and the body text has already switched to inherit the correct variables for desktop. Alrighty. And then the process of creating a style is, again, like for creating your fill styles, it's going to be exactly the same. So I'm selecting the text that I have my different variables applied to, clicking on the styles icon, and then just click that plus button to create it. And I'll just call it new display. You can also bind variables to existing styles as well. So you can click on the little edit style icon, and then you could go in if it doesn't already have it applied, or I could choose to pick a different variable as well. Maybe we'll just detach this and reconnect it here. So we'll just search for, whoops, not in fonts, display, and apply that. So yeah, whether you're making it from scratch or you already have existing styles, you can bind variables to those that way. All right, to kind of wrap things up, I just want to show a quick combination example using both our gradient and typography variables. So I've got this little banner component here. I'm going to apply our new gradient style that we created. And then looking at the variables that I've got here, you can see in addition to the colors, I've also got some string variables and then some different variables I'm going to apply to my typography. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Let's click on that. Let's have that set to the grading font. Grading. Actually, I don't think I set up a weight for that, so we'll just keep that at regular. And grading font size, and then I believe we did line height as well. And then for this text, I'm also going to apply that grading variable. Cool. So I've applied my gradient and typography variables here. I have an instance of this component within my mobile design. And then because I've got my different modes set up, I can switch these modes, and you can see that the gradient and the typography change. Okay, so wrapping things up, just reiterating in general the value of variables. First of all, variables just make it a lot easier to keep your designs consistent and to be able to manage and maintain those at scale. In addition, variables allow you to communicate your specific design tokens to your developers. So, auto layout, component properties, and variables, those all come from and are inspired by how engineers actually build products. So making use of these kinds of features are going to be really helpful to really communicate your designs effectively to your engineers. And then, of course, library consolidation. So if you had to create separate library files just because two different themes were differentiated by what kind of font they were using, now you can bring those together into one library file and then just have your different modes as a way to switch between them. We've also updated our variables playground file. So if you want to get some more hands-on experience with trying out variables and playing around with some existing examples, definitely go to Figma community and check that out. And coming up next, we've got a deep dive on our Code Connect. So we've got Jake, who's our developer advocate, who will talk about how Code Connect can help bridge the gap between design and development, and we'll give some context on how it works and how you guys can get started. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in, and Jake's presentation will start in a moment.